Welcome to Civil Coding Academy. We are still on grid, and this is where we stopped the last time. So today we're going to talk about alignment. Okay, if you remember, we are dealing with flexbox. Flexbox, you also align item on flexbox, making use of justify item, align item. Then align self is for the child, right? While align item, justify item is for the parent. If you could remember, that was what we did on flexbox. Same thing applies on grid. Okay, so without much ado, let's go straight and start with the parent, which is align item. So I'll come over to my grid. If you check, I'll put align item. If I put stretch right now, it's not going to do anything. So let me use align item stretch. Okay, Ctrl S for save. Everything remains the same because stretch is the default of align item in grid. Okay, what if I now want to make it center? Let's align item or center. Ctrl S for save. Did this what happen? Of course, it does centered. And you know why this didn't center, right? You understand the whole scenario because there's already a test there. Okay, the test remains there. Let's remove the test. So why I leave it there for you to know that it's working, so that the align item work very well. So every other thing that don't have any item centered on the right, you see a space here, you see a space below. Okay, now we can also align item end. Okay, align item end. Okay, Ctrl S for save. Of course, this will happen. They all went to the end. This remains there as a sample, so I can know that what we are doing is working perfectly. Okay, so just the way you align item to the end, align to center, just the same process. If you remember your flexbox, same thing applies here. So I'm not going to dwell much on this. Okay, then what about justify item? Now, to see if justify item is working, I would like to change this column. Instead of 1FR, let's use repeat. Okay, let it just be repeat, so we can have a lot of space where we can actually work that out. Let's use pieces. Okay, let's say 25 pieces, and remember I can use repeat as well. Just repeat, you open your bracket 3 times, then you put the number that you want. Okay, so let's say this should be 20 pieces, and the last one, let's make it like say 20, 25 is 55, let's 30 pieces, right? So I don't want to occupy the whole space, so I can see when they were aligning it will be going, that will be flowing very well. Hey, yeah, so everything is now in one place. Now we want to now align them using justify item. So let's put it on center first. Align item center. Align item center. Let's for save. Right now it's on center. But that right up, I don't do that up, we affect like this, affect it. But let's justify it. Justify item. Remember, at the center of where? At your houses, right? Now I want to go to the main center. So I'm coming to center of. Remember, the center here is up and down. You see a space up, you see a space down. That's the center here. Okay. Why, if you use justify item, so of up and down, it will now be, see a space down, it will now come to the middle here. Okay, come to the middle here. Just, and if you remember what we did on flexbox, it also applies here on grid. Okay, so I will justify item center, and it's now centered at the center, at the real center, angle 90. You know, so let's now use justify item to prove this. Do justify item or content in justify item. Let's make it center as well. Center. To S for save. Did you see it? So come at the center. If you try to push this back, you see that they are all set at the center. Okay, so everything works perfectly well. So now let's now move to the next one, which is the item that is right there. Okay, so apart from the item, item is for parent. Let's now go to self. Why self is for individual items. For that reason, let's take it back. Let's take this one back to where it was before. Now those are our, yeah, let's make it back. Yes, 1FR. Ctrl S for save. Everything should bounce back. So let's now choose only one item. I can use item 3. So remember, item 3 now is a child to this container, right? So I'll come over here since I didn't have any item, you have to use the nth child of a thing. Okay, as soon as I have any child, just pick it here and it will work on item. But I can still pick up my file. So what I will do is dot item, then open your column. It should be nth type. Yeah, nth of type. Okay, nth of type. Then open a bracket, so you can choose, put them in bracket 3, nth of type 3. So we want to actually work on this, right? We can work with this. I think you know all this when we are doing CSS before we started this advanced CSS. So as normal, open your code browser, bring it down. So we want to align self. You know what I mean by self, you know, the item, the child, like this number 3 now. Okay, so I will use align self. For it. Okay, so for it to work, we have to make sure that, because of course it will work, but I want you to see something. Let me reduce this first. So let me reduce that to say 100 pieces. Okay, so I use height because I want to see that to work. Height, let that be 100 pieces, and then I will also do the width to be the same. Width should be 100 pieces as well. Okay, 100 pieces. Then now I will now do align self. Okay, so when we are need to work, you see it very well. Align self. So let's center it. Align self centered, and Ctrl S for save. So let's check it as supposed to work. Did you see it? It's working perfectly well. Okay, so it is centered right. Now let's take it, let's make it end. Align self end. Let's align self, no putting flex end. Okay, just end is okay. If you put flex end or self end, though it will work, but I just want to use only end. Okay, Ctrl S for save. Did you see it? It calmed down. Okay, so just the way we did with align item before now, that's how I can also work with this. Okay, so apart from end, there are still many other ones that you can just walk around it and see that everything will perfectly work. Okay, so let's use the last one, start. I didn't start with start because it's already on the edge before we start. So that's why I start with the center. Okay, so align self start. Okay, align self start. Ctrl S for save. Did you see it? Remember, we are working with item 3, so it moved to the center. So this is why I have to put the width and height just for it to be smaller than all of this, so I can see as it's moving. You see that it's working, right? So now let's now do what we did before when we are doing the parent, which is justify item. Okay, so I'll put align self center, justify item center. So you see that it will be at that centered position. Nothing will shake it. Okay, so let's make it center. Okay, Ctrl S for save. Nice, at center. Remember, it's working at the horizontal, so how do you call it? Okay, so now let's now justify this self. So you do justify self as well. Justify self. Remember, I don't do justify item because it's not a parent, it's a child. Justify self should also be center. Okay, center, and Ctrl S for save. Did you see it? Just at the right place, centered, complete centered, right? So work around this, bring out other things. Remember everything we did on Flexbox, practice them as far as alignment is concerned. So let's move to the next one. Let's now go ahead and see how we can actually, let's see the power of grid. Let's see what grid can do. Okay, so we're still working on grid, but let's move ahead and see what grid can do. We want to use span now. Let's see how we can span grid. Okay, so to do that, you have to go to a developer tool if you want to. If I'm just teaching, but I may not go there. Just right click, then click on inspect. Then from inspect, you click on developer tool. And we click on developer tool, you will see grid. Click on grid. So the effect of that is, if it didn't show, then go to element and also click on grid. So that will help you to see the numbers, because these are numbering, like 1 2 3, right, up to 1 2 3 4, just like that. You see the numbers. So I can be able to span it, span 1 to 2 or 1 to 3 or stuff like that. So let's move on to span. Let me show you how span works. Okay, so let's move on. For this case, I've shown you this. Let's remove this so I can now work properly. Let me remove everything on this height and width and the rest of them. Let's remove everything. And let's see if I work properly. Yeah, so things have come back to normal. So we want to talk about spam. How do you spam? Spam is like a situation where, for example, I want this to extend from this number 2 should extend to number 3 or 4, take over the 2 space. So I just want to take over the space, that kind of a thing. Okay, where I should be able to take over. Let me just let me minimize this so everything will be on the same page. Okay, let it be like this. Okay, I think it's better this way. So how do we do that? For you to work with it, the first thing is, let's start with column. Remember, just when you also work with column and rows, same thing applies. Let's start with column. So we have to start with grid as usual. So it should be grid column start. That's what we're going to start with. Grid column start. So let me remove this end. I like to make it easy. So grid column start. Okay, grid column start. Let's say you should start from 1. Okay, now if you check, if that means you use your web developer tool, you find that here is 1, here is 2, okay, here is 3, here is 4, just like that. So if you now spam 1 to 2, that means you are still doing the same box here. Okay, so for it to work, you have to either use spam to 3 or spam to 4. Okay, so let's start with 1 first. So the grid column start should be 1. So we'll now go to the next one, which should be grid column end, and that should be 3. So we want to spam from 1 to 3. Okay, Ctrl S for save. You see it? So now take it over right away without wasting any time. So you just have to take it over right away. Do you see it? So it has spam from 1, it's spam to 3. Okay, from 1 is spam to 3. So this is the beauty of grid. If it's flexible, what am I going to do to get all of this space, but with grid can easily, because grid work with 2-dimensional layout. So let's now also spam this. So this will be item 3. So I'll do is I'll just copy this. Remember, I've changed it. I put the background color for this. So I forgot to tell you. See, a background color of this, so you can be able to see it that it's working. Okay, that's why, because when you did it first and look at it's not working, I have to put a background color so it's that it's working. So let's now copy it exactly like that, and stop at the background color as well. Let's do another one. So let's do another one. Ctrl C for copy to avoid wasting much time. Bring it down, paste. So this one should be, instead of starting from 1, this should start from 3. Okay, should be item 3. And we want to, just the way you work with column, that's also you work with row. You can also expand this as column, but now let's work with row. So you can do the rest if you want to. You can practice all these things and so that it's working. So for column, it should be grid column and no longer grid row. Remember, for row we say grid row. So now that is column, you use grid column. Grid. The first one will say grid column. So now that is row, you have to do grid row. Okay. So grid row. And oh, I forgot to teach you something. Sorry. We are trying to rush. No, this rushing will not be fine. So let me show you something. I actually use grid column. Remember, the first one I did is grid column. We say the first is 1. Grid column start 1. Grid column end 1. Now there's an abbreviation for that. Okay, you can actually just abbreviate instead of using grid column start 1, grid column end 3. You can just use grid column and do 1:3. Okay, your forward slash, right? 1/3. If you also do something to work, look at it, it work. Okay, then you can also use another method, which is spam. Instead of using just 1:3, just use 1, then put your first part. You can even move your first part, just write span 2, and it will also work. So remember that this 3 is actually span 2, but because of, if you put this span, if you put 1:2, it will work only on that, but that's how to use ratio 3. So let's say span, bring it back. So if you use span, that means you have to use the main word, which is 2. And remember to also space your work. So spam 2, and you find out that nothing will change. Okay, you see it, nothing changes. So you can either use grid column start as 1, you type it differently, you come to the next one, which one I did the first time, grid column end, you put it 3 and you save. It will show you this. Or the easiest way, just grid column 1 / 3, and to also be the same thing, nothing will change. Or you use grid column 1 / spam 2, it's still going to give you the same thing. Okay, so there are the 3 ways of working with spam. Okay, so personally I prefer that one as /2 because it will look more simpler for me. That's why I left it here. That's what I'll be using from now on. Okay, so I come to the next one now, which is the same thing. So I'll do my, this one I'm no longer grid column but grid row. Okay, so it should be grid row. It should be grid row. So instead of saying grid row start, grid row end, just write grid row and you put your number. So remember, this is 2, it's no more 3. Okay, so we have to do 2 / then 4. Okay, let's for save. You see it will still working, and it's still working very well. So are you understanding how it's working? Hope you're understanding it. It's very simple. Okay, so if you know that we've spam 2, right? So it's now going to. So let's now come over and do this. That will be from 5, and also do the same thing. Okay, so I'll just copy this like this, copy everything, Ctrl C for copy. So I'll come over here, and then Ctrl V for paste. So the one we are working on right now, we've worked with 3, right? We are going to item 5. I want to do item 5. You also see that we'll say apply the same method 2 to 4. So let's do item 5. So here I'll change the number 3 to 5, so it becomes 5. Okay, and then why everything remains the same, but I can decide to change the color. Okay, so I don't look as if it should be the same color. No, you can change the color to whatever you want. Okay, you can change the color, maybe make it something like white or whatever. It's going to apply. Okay, so Ctrl S for save. Did you see it? Did you see it? Did you see the color? Let me bring the color back so that I let me give him blue. Maybe that color may think that it didn't work. So let's give it this. Ctrl S for save. Yeah, did you see it? So it applies. It actually applies. So you can actually, this is exactly the way you work with all of this. Okay, I can also come back and give it the same color that I gave others. Okay, that same color, and it will still work. Okay, you see it, same color I gave others, black. It has turned back the way it was before now. So this is exactly how you can work with grid at the power of grid. So you can actually spam this, make it bigger, cover every place, and this one come over here, and so you know we are creating something. We are creating something. Okay, so the next one will go to media query. That's also how you can actually work with media query and use media query to also achieve a whole lot of goals. Okay, so remember this one is spam 2. That's why I didn't want you to explain to this, so you make it spam 3. Remember when I did spam 2, I didn't change it to 3. Okay, so let's change it back to 3 and Ctrl S for save. So you should apply it, so you know what I'm doing. And also let me make this one to be the same color with all of them, so that you won't get confused. I don't want to get confused at all for any reason. So the background color, let's just change this background color, right, and put back the color that others have. They should be the same color all through. Let them be the same color all through. Okay, so remove this background color, and let's copy this background color now and place it there. Okay, so it should be the same color all through. Okay, yeah, it should be the same color. Oh, I've gone and copied rubbish. Okay, let me give you my own color by myself. There's no point copying anyone, but at least you know what you know what we're doing, right? That's what matters. Okay, so these ones are not the issue, they are not a problem. Let me now come to this number 5 and giving color myself. I don't like this color I'm seeing, don't like it. I want another type of color. Okay, so can give him aqua. Okay, let me just give him aqua, so it will have something similarity. There should be a little bit similar. Okay, or if I also want, I can now go and give that color that I give to others, and everything will work the same. Okay, rest for save. Yes, it work the same. So with this, you can actually create our holy grail layer that we did before. Now when we are doing, you know how it takes us time, though not too much, little bit time to create holy grail layout using Flexbox. But with this, it's very easy. Here, because your header, you make your header a very straight line. You have your footer here on the very straight line here. Your sidebar, your main. Okay, maybe that's what we used to wrap it up. Okay, but this class is ended. I don't want to be too long. So now next, I'll show you how you can actually work with media query to make sure that everything is mobile responsive. For example, let me just bring this, see what's happening. So what's happening, you know, it keep on showing 2 to you know, it came from 1 to 2 and stop at 2. But if you apply media query, it may end up, if you change it up to maybe like mobile version, to only show just one particular item. Okay, and the rest will now line up that way. So that will be our next class. See you in that class, and thank you for coding with Steven today. Bye.